Now, for those that are listening on Spotify or the Apple Podcast, we are seated outside. So we do have some lovely birds chirping in the background. So that's going to be courtesy of the botanical gardens.
And also, if you guys are, listening and have been tuning in, then you should know by now that anytime it's a good day, we're going to be outside.
Yes.
We're going to take advantage of all the good days that we get this year.
Yeah.
And we're going to take in nature. We're going to breathe the fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to enjoy this time. So thank you guys for joining us. And wherever you're watching us from, if you're listening to us in your car, on your commute, back and forth to work, or maybe you're at the gym and you're listening to us to get through your workout. Some of you have expressed to us that you like to listen to us when you're getting things done, or maybe you're running errands or you're cleaning up the house and you just have us playing in the background. Thank you for using us as your white noise to get through the day. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us again on another episode of What Anna Said Podcast. Before we get started, check in, guys. Come in, check in with us. What is everybody up to? How has your week been? Has it been busy?
It's been busy for me. I don't know. What about you guys?
I think I've had a pretty normal week in terms of busyness.
True. Yeah.
Obviously, we had time to meet up today, so I'm glad that I wasn't too busy. And for those of you who always tune in, you guys know that we uploaded late last week. I'm so sorry about that. We're doing better this week. So if you guys are checking in and you had a busier week than normal, we understand. Okay, because that's us right now. So let's go ahead and dive right on into our topic that we would like to talk about. Just talking about social media, talking about the effects of, or just the changes that we have seen, because we're millennials and we existed at a time where social media wasn't as big as it is right now.
And the reason why we're talking about this is because you brought up yesterday,
yes,
that Samson came to you with a question, your oldest boy, Samson. And what was that he asked you about?
He asked why he does not have a cell phone. Because the rest of his peers, or most of them in first grade, yes,
first grade, you guys
already have a cell phone. So, and he also rides the bus, so he's seen these kids on their phones, and he's like, why don't I have one yet?
Wow.
That's wanting tough. To feel included. And I did not have anything to say right at that moment when he asked, because I'm obviously against that age group having a phone this early. But I know that, other parents have their own perspective on it.
Yeah, every parent has their own decision to make when it comes to that. And so that's a question that I have for you parents that are listening right now, or even if you're not a parent yet.
Yeah.
What age do you think is appropriate for you to give your child a cell phone or access to, whether it's like their iPads or whatever? Yeah. What age do you think is appropriate for that? And if your kids are in school, do they have cell phones?
Right. I know for myself, I would say you're not getting a phone until you're out of high school.
Well, your oldest is also in kindergarten. First grade, sorry.
He's in kindergarten, yes. He's in kindergarten.
Your oldest?
Yes. No, he's not. He's in first grade. I'm sorry.
I was going to say.
I have way too many kids.
Parents understand. Okay. Parents understand.
Yes, my oldest is in first grade, and I just feel like, it does depend on your maturity level. Definitely. I'm just speaking on my own self.
Definitely.
I think it was a great thing that mom and dad did not give me a cell phone until senior year of high school. Like, I was about to graduate.
Well, let's talk about that, because we grew up in a time where we went from dial-up, if you guys remember, having to call
AOL,
and you hear all this on the phone because someone's on the internet. Okay, and you could always that was the way that if our parents left the house,
yes,
and we would try to sneak on the internet and they call the house phone, that's it, buddy.
You're
have been found out. You were not slick enough. Yeah, so in the time that we grew up, we finally got phones in high school, and like you said, for you it was senior year of high school.
Senior year, almost ready to graduate,
right? And so at that time you finally got a phone. And when you did get a phone, was it just free range? Like, did mom and dad just allow you to have your phone at all times?
It was free range. That's
compared to
crazy.
what I
That's
know that I
wild.
witnessed compared to what I witnessed
That's
with
wild.
Anna. You were free range too, and you weren't even in high school when you got your phone.
Yeah,
you were in
but
junior
Not
high.
free range like an egg.
Okay.
Yeah, not free range like that because at nighttime the phone was taken up.
I guess because they know that
I don't
I
know
don't know.
I don't know what happened. What happened?
we
Well-
got phones at the same time, Kim.
This kind of goes back to
You're younger.
this kind of goes back to what we talked about on previous episodes where
Mhm.
with parents you're kind of more strict, and then as you trickle down to the rest of your kids,
Were we strict with Kim?
well, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. You're more strict at the top, at the oldest, and you work
Yeah.
your way down, and then you become more lax. And
Yeah, because you get to find out what works, what doesn't work.
exactly. And being the oldest, which is so fun for me, the phone was taken every night on the dot, and you know what, I'm so grateful for that.
Oh yeah,
And
I was gonna
and
say
I
the same thing.
support and
Mhm.
will do the same thing because mom and dad, they took the phone every night. Because why do you need it? You need to go to sleep.
Exactly.
What do you need your phone for?
Exactly.
Who do you need to text, talk to
Mhm,
at this
mhm.
hour?
Right.
No, ma'am.
Mhm.
Close the eyes. Okay, go to sleep. And so I agree with that. Thank you, mom and dad, for doing that because that protected me from a lot of things that I didn't even know, and from getting into things that you shouldn't be getting into.
Exactly, which also just brings me to this memory, which is pretty funny. And I remember, mom and dad taking our phone at a certain time. I think it's like 8 p.m.
Is
The
this
phone
on
is taken
topic,
up.
or-
It is. The phone is taken up, and I remember just having the phone. And I remember I was talking to Jackie because he was my boyfriend, and
that's why your phone got
mom,
taken.
yeah, mom walked in, and mom just took the phone, and I was like, "Can I say bye
You're
at
like,
least?"
oh my god.
I was like, "Yeah," and then I was like, "Mom, can I at least say bye?" She was like, "No." I was like, "Oh."
You thought you had something. You thought that you were being grown. You thought that you were gonna practice being grown. Like, mom, can I just say bye?
And she was like, yeah. So that was a good
you
lesson.
said bye when I took the phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
So our parents very much monitored
Yes.
everything that we did.
Yes.
Search history.
Exactly.
What sites were we visiting?
Passwords.
And passwords.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. They knew all our passwords to
Exactly.
everything. Okay. So they can log in and check who you messaging, who's in your
Uh-huh,
DMs.
uh-huh.
Oh, you're on MySpace? Oh, Ben wants to talk to you on MySpace? Let's give him a little message back.
Speaking of MySpace, that goes into social media. Right now we have Snapchat, we
Yes.
have Instagram, we have Facebook, but I don't think this generation, Gen Z is what they're called, right?
Yeah.
Are on Facebook that much.
There's like
but,
TikTok and
what other
other stuff.
apps are there that we just went full force into the social media age?
First of all,
What age were you?
am so embarrassed that Facebook is now an old people thing.
It is.
Gen Z doesn't
It is.
care about Facebook.
No.
They don't go on Facebook. They're there. They have a profile.
Mhm.
They're calm on there, but that's not where they frequent. That's not the site that they frequent. Okay, they're all over TikTok, all over Snapchat, all over. I mean, it's even to the point that when they're making friends or they see someone or they're trying to get to know someone, they'll say, "What's your Snap?"
Right.
instead of "What's your phone number?"
Mhm.
Before it was like, "Can I get your number?"
Yes.
Now it's
Communication
"What's your Snap?"
methods have
Definitely.
drastically changed.
Definitely changed.
And I think you can also hide away behind social media.
oh, for sure.
Like if you want to talk to a girl, you're probably approaching her via social media instead of like face to face.
Weak.
Like
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
like the prehistoric area.
Right. I mean,
Area.
we're so old.
Era. Old
They
and
say-
Bob.
No, so they definitely have. It's a whole new world, man. Social media has definitely taken off, and it's a whole new thing now.
Right.
And even for us trying to still stay in the game, like still keep up with these young
You
kids,
current? Yeah.
no,
no,
you can't.
I feel
There's-
very old.
There's
Yes.
new slang coming out every day that I'm racking my brain over trying to
Yes.
figure out.
which reminds me, yesterday we were talking about slang, and Anna and Sally were saying some words, and Anna's second oldest, she just busted out laughing. She was sitting there looking at us like, who are these old people trying to talk their language, trying to say riz, trying to say
Yes.
all those
Right.
words.
Cringe, cap, it's giving.
She literally couldn't stop laughing. That just made us feel so old.
Yes. And that's just the reality of what it is. And it brings me back to the question that we had in the beginning. How old is old enough for your kids to give your kids a phone, to give them access to a phone. I know, like you said, kindergarten. I'm sorry, your son is in first grade, and you saying that that's way too young. Yeah, that's super young. But you know, every parent has their own decision to make. I know parents that have their children walking home from school, taking the bus, and maybe having to wait somewhere, and there's so many circumstances in which, yes, it is a method of, you know, prevention, like keeping them safe. It's a good thing to let them have a phone so that they can call for help if they need help. And
Right. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a cell phone with full access to everything.
exactly, that's one
There
thing.
are other.
There are
Mhm.
options. You can have it stripped down.
Yep.
And what was the app that you were telling me about?
It wasn't an app, but it was like some company that I saw a friend post, Gab.
Okay.
GABB, I think is what it was called, Gab Wireless.
That's the first time I
But
heard of it when you brought it up.
T-Mobile also has like the watch, like the smartwatch for kids, where you can just text,
Right.
you can see their location. So there are
Right.
other ways.
Or you can just go back to the flip phone.
Yeah, you can get a flip phone. I
mean, I don't know if you want your kid to be bullied, but
I don't think they're gonna know how to use a flip phone, honestly.
oh,
You gotta tap.
use
like,
all the numbers to
Yes.
get you right. You're right. But definitely, it's up to every parent.
Right.
Whatever you think is,
Mhm.
you know, the
Appropriate
appropriate
age.
age for your children.
What would you say though?
For myself, I would say, first of all, if I'm gonna let them have access to that, there's gonna be a lot of guidelines.
Right.
Because man, that's so it's that's such a powerful thing to have in their hands, first of all. And not only that, not them having access, but the world having access to your kid.
Yes.
They
Being able to influence
are
them.
at an age where they're so easily influenced, and they're so gullible, and
They can put out
don't-
private
yeah.
information.
and they're ignorant to the dangers of the world.
Yes.
And they're
Cybersecurity.
Yes, they're ignorant to the evil in the world.
Mhm.
And you know, children, they look at everyone and they trust everyone, especially older people. And so, you know, that's the world now has access to your kid. And don't think that just
Right.
because your kid is on Roblox or, you know, kid appropriate sites, that's where they are too. You know,
Right. We talked about the other day. We talked about YouTube, where your child is just searching up Spider-Man,
Yes,
and something else inappropriate comes up. And
Right.
this is even if you're on YouTube Kids.
exactly.
There are things that slip through.
Slip under the radar. There's things that there's still ways to get to your kids. And I think that that's one thing about social media that, especially for children, that we have to be monitored, we have to safely monitor, because these days you don't get to give, you don't, what am I trying to look for the word? I didn't sign up to be
Right.
exposed to certain things.
Yes.
But these things are just being
No
shown
consent.
to you without your consent. So why, you know, my children searching up Peppa Pig or something, why is inappropriate things coming up in the form of a cartoon in this way to them? You know, we didn't consent to that, but it's been shown to you. So that's one thing to have in mind too, is that even though you have things in place to keep your kids from it, it's there's a, you know, they can still be exposed to that.
Right. Kim, did you have an age that you would say would be appropriate?
For me, speaking
She's
for
free
right
range.
now, yeah. Yes,
Free-range.
for me right now, I would say the age of 16. The age of 16 to have their own phone, and but at the same time still monitoring them, just because, as you guys have mentioned, everything is so easy, not just accessible, but also just exposed without your consent. And that's what I'm really worried about. And I think also just having them at home and homeschool is helping with the monitoring and seeing what that they could be exposed to. But yeah, for me, it will be the age of 16.
Right. Because, you know, this is the influence era. Okay. You got all
Yes.
your influencers.
Exactly.
And right now, as a child, I know for myself, speaking personally, when I was a child or a teenager, you're easily influenced, and you're still trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
You're trying to find out your true self.
Uh-huh.
And so to have this unlimited access
Exactly.
at your fingertips,
Yes.
it's something to really be careful about.
It's a
And then also,
responsibility. It's a big responsibility.
it definitely is. And you want to
Mhm.
make sure that you're teaching, I know for myself, that I'm teaching my children, you know, who they are, and making sure that
Yes.
they have their own self-confidence
Yes.
before they look to others for
Exactly.
influence.
Have their own sense of identity.
Right.
Exactly. So should we be scared of the digital age, of the progression that we're going to see with, you know, social media or the internet, AI?
Yeah. For me, I don't think you should be scared. Technology has brought so much,
Mm-hmm.
for us, especially like looking back then when we used to drive around, you had to use the map and the paper map, and you had
Yeah,
to
kid would be
find,
lost.
we're looking, trying to
she
find where are we
she
gonna
she can't
go.
even do the GPS today.
Yes.
Okay,
So
like imagine her with a map, a
I'm telling
paper
you, I
map.
would not understand how to read it. Okay,
It's
so
time to
kudos,
learn.
yeah, kudos to the parents, like our parents back then when we used to travel and we
Drive to
drive to
states. Yeah.
California, yeah, from Texas, and have to use the map instead of having it easily accessible on your phone. Like, take
GPS.
me to blah 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 blah, and it will take us there. So for me, I'm thankful because GPS has helped me a lot.
Oh
And
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. And speaking of GPS, I saw recently when AT&T had that outage,
Oh
there was this
yes.
girl who posted on TikTok that because she had no service, she didn't know how to get home. She did not. She was in an area that she wasn't familiar with and she did not know how to get home. She asked somebody else to use their cell phone, but their cell phone was also out.
Uh-huh.
And so I think it's also important maybe
Uh,
learn how to read a map
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I
But
think
Yeah,
yes,
maybe learn how to get around without
yes,
having social media as a clutch and having that
exactly.
because that's terrible to be handicapped without it
Yes,
and not know your way home. And I'm so
especially in your
grateful,
own hometown.
right? And I'm so grateful for dad because if you know me,
Yeah.
I'm the number one go get lost on the road. There's been multiple times where my father,
Oh,
I
too
had to
many,
call
too
him and
many.
tell him, Dad, this is the sign I see. I don't know where I am in the world. I'm here and here and
Yeah,
the intersection of this and this. And my dad would tell me, stay right there. I'm going to come pick you up
yeah.
and you can follow me back home.
you just sharing that, I'm like, that's great for a devotional.
Exactly. I mean, we don't want to. We want to stay on topic here, but you always call your father.
Yes,
It
when
doesn't
you're
matter where
lost.
you are in your life. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what like I didn't know where I was. I had no idea where I was.
Mhm.
I didn't know if I was still in Texas. Okay, when I was
That's how
driving
far
and got
you
lost. That's how
drove.
far off I drove from the
Mhm.
path. That's how far I strayed away from the path. And I knew that I had to just only make one phone call, and that was it. And I knew that rescue was coming, that I would be found, and that I would be taken back home. And all I'm saying is that he leaves the 99. He leaves the 99. Okay. All I'm saying is call your heavenly father wherever you are in your life. If you're lost, you don't even know which way is right anymore. You don't know which way is up, which way is down, but you're wandering. All you have to do is make one call. Lord, help me. Just like that. Okay, but anyway, let's go back
Go
to
back
the
topic.
we don't want to go off topic, but here we go. Just talking about back to the question, like we said, when is it appropriate time to give your
Yeah.
kids a phone? And I think that or should we be scared of
Uh-huh.
technology? I know that there was a time where talking face on a FaceTime, like holding your phone and
Mhm.
speaking to someone through a video call, or even speaking into your hand, into your watch, and having it speak back to
Yeah.
you, or even speaking to an assistant, a mobile virtual assistant.
Yes.
Siri, give me a recipe for
Uh-huh.
banana pie cake, banana pie. But these things are like we have progressed so much in
Oh yeah.
technology where these things were just a thought, and now
Exactly.
these things are real things that that we have. and
Yeah.
and I don't think that it's something that should be feared, but I think that it's something that should be monitored and something
Yes.
that you need to be in the know of. You
For
need to
sure.
know about it.
Exactly. You need to have digital literacy skills.
Yes.
You got to have those skills because this is the way that it's going to be
moving.
progressing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Giving them access to this. First of all, am I myself, am I modeling the behavior that I want my child to have when it comes to this? Like,
Right. Because your child will
right.
call you out on that because you can
Yeah.
tell them what to do all you want.
to their blue in the face.
Yes. But you got to make sure that you're
Right.
also walking that out. Because
Right.
I know Samson called me out the other time.
I
when
love
I
kids
said,
for that.
Yes,
I love kids for that.
him for that. Okay. Holding me accountable. I told them no more screens and no screens at the
He
table.
said, "Oh,
And
really?"
here it came with my phone to the table. Yes. And so,
Yeah, that's the thing, is because you as an adult ask yourself,
mhm.
are you okay with being away from your phone? How important is it for you to be connected? And
So important for me to be
Right.
connected.
Exactly.
And even myself, if I'm having trouble with being addicted to my phone,
Mhm.
then I can only imagine for
A child.
my child.
Right, a child who's still growing and who's still finding out who they are and developing. And I think that that's another thing, is that us as parents, that we have the responsibility to shape up our children, to build them up with a character that's resilient enough that when the world is telling them how they should look, what size they should be, and all of these things, that they're strong enough, that they know their identity, and they're strong enough to be able to navigate through these things without being affected or pulled down, dragged down, and depressed, anxiety, and all these things that come with being told who you should be instead of knowing who you already are and who you were created to be. And I think that's probably a big part of me feeling comfortable enough to let my kids have access to it is, you know first of all, are my kids, what is my relationship with them?
Exactly.
Do they speak to me freely? Do I create a safe space where they can come to me and they can tell me anything that's on their mind or even what they're curious about?
Right. And I know that you do such a great job, you and your husband Ben, because the discussions that you tell me about, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready to have those discussions with my kids, but they come to you so brutally honest.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for myself.
I know it's uncomfortable for you.
No, yes.
For Anna, yeah.
Especially Anna.
And it's so funny because if you look at me and my husband, you would think that I'm the one that's so open with this, but my husband is actually the one that has taught me to have these conversations with my kids, and it's okay, and just be so open. He's so open with them. I'm like, please,
Cringe. I'm just kidding.
It's giving cringe, as the kids these days say. It's giving cringe. But it's so true, because once we open up that space, now I'm comfortable that if you discover something on social media and you feel uncomfortable about it, someone's approaching you and you made a new friend, that you'll talk to me about it. And now we have this safe space, and we can have a healthy relationship with social media, and we can use it to progress instead of something that's now taking a toll on our mental health.
Right.
Yeah, and I think just having open communication with your kids, especially with technology and the way that it's going, is very important to have with your kids. Not to just to allow that safe space for them when they come home. They know, okay, this is my safe space. I can go talk to mom, or I can go talk to dad about my concerns or anything. Or if something's going on social media, like, hey, mom, I did mess up, but this is what's happening. Whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think what's very important is how you react to them as well when they come to you with those things.
Yes.
Because I know, Anna, that's something that you told me. I mean, this was before I even had kids. It was just like in a relationship. You're like, well, maybe that person feels that way because last time they opened up to you, you reacted wild and crazy.
You reacted
like a crazy
like
woman.
a crazy.
So I mean, I think that's important too, to watch the way that you're reacting.
Oh yeah, very
when
true.
they come
very
to
true.
you, and that way they do feel safe.
Oh yeah,
with whatever
exactly.
is going on. 'Cause there's a lot that's going on in our children's lives that we may not know.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like, I'm still learning how to react in a calm manner and in understanding, because a lot of times, you want to tell them, like, you should know better, you should know this, but at the same time, they're kids. We're adults and we're still learning.
Exactly.
So to give them that grace that they're still learning as well, and just give them that safe space to open up.
Exactly.
Right. What do you think, or do you think that social media has a direct correlation with our mental health? Do you see that more in this? Because I know growing up, we had a lot of outside playtime.
All the time.
Right. We were always outside.
Every kid.
For us to connect with our peers, we would have to be at the same park where we know everyone's getting together to play volleyball. Everyone's meeting up over here to play basketball, or everyone's meeting up to go to the lake.
Exactly.
So that was how we, if we wanted to hang out, that's how we connected. These days, I feel like the way that things are moving, our kids are connecting on social media. I know my kids, they can't wait to get off of school and get on the phone with their best friend that they just saw at school, and they're getting together to play Roblox. They're getting together to play whatever games they play, or make videos on TikTok and be silly and have fun. And that's the way that they connect. So it's kind of like, if your child doesn't have an iPad or a phone
they may
or a
feel
way
left out.
that they're actually not connecting.
Oh yeah,
That's kind of a weird
because
thing that we're dealing with now.
Yeah, that's right, because we're in this new technology era, and everything, like Sally Sampson said, all first graders had phones, which is just crazy. But that just goes to show that sometimes these kids, they do feel left out. Or I've also seen someone else saying, like, the teacher will say, okay, go to this, on your phone, put this in, do your homework, and a student may not have a phone. you know. So there's just a lot that has to come with that.
I definitely believe that it has an effect on your mental
Oh yeah,
health.
for
We've
sure.
seen it,
I do too.
the way that it's progressed so
Oh
quickly, just the
yes,
information that's easily accessible,
exactly.
instant gratification, and then even the
Yes,
psychological effects that we've
exactly.
seen, like tested and proved that
Yeah,
it definitely does have a correlation to your
yeah.
mental health.
Especially during COVID, we've seen that when the kids had to be
Oh
pulled
yeah.
out of school and had to do, their school from online, and just a decline of just the students and their mental health, and
Yeah, a lot of
they
teachers said that it wasn't the same when the kids came back to
yeah, it
school.
wasn't.
It's not the same. Like they're still trying to figure out this new whatever the change
Yeah.
was. But I'm grateful that during that time we still went out.
Yes.
I mean, we didn't go out, but I mean, like we
Yes.
were at your house. We were
Yeah.
at the parks that were completely empty.
Yeah, like, it
But
was just us, but
like, and
yeah.
our children. So they're still getting that fresh air. They're still getting
Yes.
away from technology and not being on it 24/7.
Exactly.
But this is a day, this is the time that a lot of parents have to go off and work, and your kids are like,
Yeah.
back then I think we're playing video games or we're safe to go step outside our doors
Yes.
and run around in the neighborhood. We would rollerblade
Yes.
all the way down
Ride
the
our
end of the
bikes
street.
or skates.
We would even go to the next street over and the next
Yeah.
street over, but we're still
It was just a normal.
safe.
Yes.
Yes, but I think
Compared
like
to today.
today you let your child step out the door and you have to
Just a lot of exposure and
brace
yeah, just
yourself
have to
because you
really
never know
be
what's
careful.
going to happen.
Exactly.
I think one question that I always had was it, because a lot of times we say, oh, the world today, it's just so scary and, to let your kids out. The thing is also is that when we were growing up, social media not being
Exactly.
what it is.
That is true.
What if the world had always just been crazy and we were just ignorant to the dangers that were happening?
I believe that.
Yeah, I've thought of that too, and
firmly
I
believe
believe that too.
But I also think because of social media
We're-
and all of your
yes.
information being out there,
Exactly.
you're even more
More
at a
exposed.
higher risk
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
that. But you're also at the higher risk of like, oh, I know where you are. I'm gonna
Yeah.
come get you. I don't know. Like I'm just thinking of like the kidnappers, the child.
Well, yeah,
What
because
is
it's
it-
public information. You could
Yes.
easily look someone up.
But you are so right. I think that the world was still evil then.
Oh,
I mean,
yes,
like,
for
All
sure.
these evil things were just being exposed.
It's just more
to
exposed
it.
now because of social media.
Right, exactly. And
And
I think that
technology.
that's one of the greatest things that came about with this,
Oh yes,
with TikTok and Twitter,
for sure,
with everything,
yes.
because now a lot of people, especially with the exposure
A
of
lot
fake
of
news
awareness.
and the media, just putting out their agenda, things that go with their agenda. I think that a lot of people now are getting their news straight from social media, TikTok.
Exactly.
A lot of
Yes.
this generation, especially, I've seen that they're getting their news straight from TikTok. That
Yes.
they're trusting the people
Yes,
to
I
bring
have
them
myself,
their news.
Yes,
I have people. I don't have people, but even people getting their news firsthand on Twitter from someone on the ground.
yeah,
Not waiting for the news crew to get there, but in real time as it's happening and getting the news that's happening, because it's
And
kind
I
of
love that because then the news doesn't get a chance, or the mainstream media doesn't get the chance to filter what they want you to see.
You're
You
kinda
get to
getting
see all
it straight
point of
up
views.
as it's happening.
Mhm.
And that can be a double-edged sword, because
definitely could.
everyone's armed with the phone,
Yeah.
and so everyone's giving you their point
Their-
of view, and you have to take everything with a grain of salt, and you yourself need to be responsible enough to filter out what you're receiving, and be um just have common sense.
Yes.
I mean, I don't like common sense these days. It's really
Yes.
rare.
Speaking of common sense, see, there was this TikTok where this podcast was talking, and they were reading a letter, and they were reading it in the point of view of that person writing in about their job and what their manager, and she gave her point of view. But the people watching it on TikTok, they only saw a snippet of it and immediately thought that she's the manager that did something that was
Yes.
And so
That's
they
another
all
thing.
like cancel.
Yes.
They like try to cancel her podcast.
And that's a negative side of things is because now these days the first news that comes out is the one that people are taking and running, instead of getting the full story, instead of waiting for the other side to come out and doing your proper research. People are taking the first person who speaks on a topic, and they're in just mob mentality, and also cancel culture, which is something that's super
crazy.
annoying to me. But it is what it is. Cancel culture, we're canceling people, but just from it, there's corporations and stuff that are doing things and people want to boycott, which I think that you should always take a stand for what you believe in.
Yeah, and
Right.
and stand whatever you stand for.
Yes.
Stand for that.
Yeah, stand for it. And like they say, stand for something or fall for anything.
Mhm.
So yeah, please stand for what you believe in. But definitely do
Yeah,
your
don't
research
bend
before
the-
you jump to the canceling
That's what
culture
I was
or the
gonna
mob
say.
mentality. Stand on your own even if you're the only one standing on that
Right.
topic.
You don't have to follow the crowd.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
I think it's always even someone that if I don't agree with them, but they're standing strong on whatever they believe.
I respect
that's
that.
always
Yes.
Period.
You get my respect.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll always respect.
I love that. Don't
Yeah,
don't
I love it.
cower.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it because you know what? Everyone's on. Especially if you're on a search for truth, you'll find it,
You will.
and you
Seek
should
and
always
you shall
stand-
find.
Right, exactly. So, but definitely social media does have an impact directly. It correlates with our mental health. Like you brought up with the pandemic, I know that once they moved our children to having to do just all online schooling, my oldest really struggled with it because she's not a she's a hands-on learning person. She needs to connect with people. She needs to hear the teacher, and she needs to have that personal connection in order for her to grow. So that was a tough year for her, and I feel like even now she's having a hard time bouncing back from that year during the pandemic, having to navigate doing work on the laptop, and her studies really did drop. And I know it's because of the lack of connection. So if you're listening to this, I encourage you, go outside and touch the tree, touch some grass. You know how
Yes.
they say that as a joke, but I'm being so serious right now.
Get some fresh
Yes.
air. Take a walk.
Please
Take a walk without listening to music. Listen
Right.
to the
nature.
Yes.
Be in your thoughts, and it's
Mhm.
okay to be alone in your thoughts. It's okay to to
Yeah.
take it in, to
Mhm.
take the quiet times in. That's okay. I know these days it's like everybody, they kind of make it negative. Like if you're alone,
Yeah.
you're doing things alone, or you're feeling. It's okay. Sometimes you need that space and time to take in for yourself. So, I try to encourage my kids to spend actual time physically with people than the time that they're having on social media online.
And that will help a lot with just connecting with people. I mean, you can connect online, but there's also a different type of connection when you get to be face to face with somebody.
Yeah, I feel like that's healing
Mhm.
for people. I know for me, sometimes spending time with my family, being with my kids, being with my husband, with my siblings, my parents, just everybody, people that I love, that does something for me. That's really healing for me. Oxytocin, really though.
I'm going into like literally
Yes.
what's taking place.
What's taking
Yes.
place? Literally.
Mhm.
And especially for our children, young minds, social media is so it's heavily influencing our day to day. Even grown-ups, being influenced by social media and being aware of things, whether it's cultures,
Yeah, cultures, or just different lifestyles.
opportunities that are out there that you may never think of.
Yeah.
So take all the good and leave the bad. And that's with everything, in moderation. So I think that's my advice for my children and for myself. And I think that in order for me to do that, I need to first model it and regulate my own time,
Yes,
my
on
own use of
scrolling.
time.
Mhm.
Scrolling, exactly.
Yeah, because I catch myself mindless scrolling,
Mhm.
especially after I drop the kids off to school,
Right.
and then I'm sitting in the driveway.
Yeah.
I mean, in the parking lot,
Yeah.
still on my phone.
Right. Sometimes
Like,
it's
you can
okay.
get lost
Sometimes you
in
need to
it.
get a funny video.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Mhm.
sometimes you watch like a motivational video or something, and it gets your day started. Then after that, start your day.
Yeah, start your day. Next thing you know, 3 hours, 5 hours went by. But that's right, in moderation.
Right.
Be mindful of what you're allowing yourself to take in.
Exactly. And I think also, once you give that responsibility to your child, make sure that you also don't forget your responsibility to regulate, what they're doing. Because it's so easy to call the babysitter,
So easy,
The
Miss
iPad.
Rachel,
YouTube.
Bluey.
Okay, Bluey.
Yes.
It's so,
so
easy, to
easy.
call the babysitter
Mhm.
to watch your kid, but that's not their responsibility. The internet's not responsible to watch your kid. You need to watch your kid, regulate, monitor, all that good stuff. So yeah. So unfortunately, Samson won't be getting a
He
phone soon.
definitely won't be getting a phone. He's gonna have to wait a little bit
Right.
more, but he is mature for his
Yes.
age. So
He really is, though.
you know, I still believe that it's gonna be dependent
On
on
your
their
child,
maturity
yeah.
level.
I think for my kids, I'm good with them if they get to like 8th grade, 9th grade, just with sports and everything that happens. Then maybe, but it will definitely be the stripped down one.
Yes. Are you going to put a time limit
For
or
sure.
take
No,
their
no,
phones
no,
up
for
at
sure.
night?
For sure. Okay, 9 o'clock, phones up. Now it might be earlier than that. And
Anna
then
was really good at that though. Like even though
Yeah,
you would
yeah.
be, I think I was more on like.
yeah, I was like, okay,
I was
yeah,
like, you know what? I'm gonna start paying for my own phone bill, so you can't
Yeah.
tell me what to do.
yeah, I didn't mind giving up my phone because I don't know. I was like, yeah, well, I do need to sleep. Like that makes sense, you know.
Common sense
Right.
came in.
Right, exactly. So that's why common sense helps. Get you some of that.
Wow, what are you trying to say about me, huh?
But yes, so Kim's kids already has phones. So I'm just kidding.
They're always on phones.
They're not always on phones, but
Oh,
when they go
let's
to
put some pictures
when they go
up.
to
I'm
their
just kidding.
grandparents, they like to go on their phones. But they already know.
We're just
We already
kidding.
had a talk with them. Our kids, they have iPads, but their iPads, they're definitely monitored. When they're on it, they only have games. There's no
ABC
YouTube
Mouse.
because
ABC
YouTube, yeah, ABC Mouse, YouTube. They already know. There's no such thing as YouTube for them. So yeah,
Yeah, but definitely just
Love
to
that.
wrap it up, it's all up to you as a parent. It's all up to you on your child's development, your relationship with your child, your own relationship with social media. And should we be afraid of it? No. We should welcome it for everything that it does to progress us
Yeah.
as a society.
Keep us up to date.
Keep us up to date with the news.
Mhm.
And make sure that you filter everything that you yourself as a grown-up is consuming.
Exactly.
And but use it for all the benefits that it does give you, connecting with your family overseas,
Exactly.
connecting. My sisters and I talk all the time. I think Snapchat, I'm always there every day because I get to see what my sister, my nieces, my nephews, what are they doing, what are y'all having for dinner, where is mom and dad at, what are they doing, and I'll show y'all what I'm doing. So it's like a fun way to still be in the know of how are we doing. And so yeah, use it for all those good stuff, checking on your child's grades. They even have that. They have everything is accessible these days.
There is a lot out there you
Yeah.
can learn.
Yes.
I could be in China tomorrow or Korea
Right.
another day
Right.
through social media,
Exactly.
through
Yeah.
those YouTube travel vlogs.
Right. My favorite thing is I get to walk the streets of I get to go back to Fiji and walk the streets thanks to Google Maps. Like the progression of everything that we got in the technical world, in the tech world, they definitely can be a help. So definitely don't be scared of it.
Mhm. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this episode. We would love to hear more from you.
Yes.
Let us know your thoughts on our episodes. Let us know
Mhm.
what you'd like us to share, talk about. Maybe you have some questions about the things that we've shared through our previous episodes.
Right.
Maybe even this one. Maybe you disagree with
Yeah,
our
maybe you
thoughts,
disagree.
and that's fine.
Let us know.
We
Yeah.
would love to hear from
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for tuning in to
What Anna Said podcast.
Bye.